Interested in Brenda. Her energy's all over the room here. What's going on with you, hon?
You just read me last weekend.
At the where? At the fair or at the house?
At the fair, the Healing Arts.
You know, I could have every one of those people sitting here and I wouldn't remember them.
Oh, really? But I'm everywhere, huh?
Yeah, your energy's all over this room. What, Tony? Yeah, it just is bursting all over. What kind of work you do?
I do.
Don't work? Remember, I don't remember. I talked 25 people that day. After a while, I get everybody confused. It's almost kind of like, it's nice that I do because I don't remember. Ooh, look at the volume here. Wow. What kind of, you work, what do you do for your time?
Well, what you said that I did before was putts, but actually...
I love putzing. That works. I wish I could putz all day.
But actually, I go when I have the time, which is anyway, I go to all these different stores like this one, and I'm searching.
Search for,
Yes.
Absolutely,
and
that's
I am
important.
searching. And what else do I do? So.
Well, your energy is amazing. Have you tried to be, have you thought about being a reader?
That's what you said to me before. No.
You have really good energy. If I said you feel and you have the same energy bubble, it doesn't mean you two aren't good readers, or couldn't be. Have you tried tarot, Tony? I see the word tarot around you. But you could be a touchy-feely, emotional, physical...
You said psychometry.
Psychometry?
Is what you had said, and I didn't know what that meant, so I went home and looked it up.
It's reading of objects.
Yeah.
When the universe sent me here, May 4th, 1990, Ken and Ollie was going to do what they call Friday Night Circle. And in those days, gee, Richard, were you part of the circle at that time, 1990? 1990, were you at that time? There was like 3 spiritualist churches, all Sacramento. No East-West bookstore. There wasn't any metaphysical stores anywhere. There just was not. I think there was the national. I know there was a nationalist spiritualist church in Auburn, and then there was this one. I think there was a lady in downtown Sacramento. What was her name? Blanche. What was her name? Reverend Blanche something. Black spiritualist, and there was like 3 or 4 places you could go to get a reading, and it was so unusual. So when I started, like 8 people that night, ended up getting 50, 60 people a night because there was no place else to go, right? But they started with psychometry, and so the circle would be like this, and it kept growing and growing. And psychometry was a means of reading an object. Everything that we have against our body absorbs some of us. It's like when we put our hand on this coffee table like this, you think that's solid, and it's not. We actually blend with everything. Like you have on. If you take it and put it over here, I'd still be able to read it. For a while there, I was joking with people. Someone brought me a dog ball, a baseball mitt, and a pair of lacy underwear. I could read anything, didn't matter. It was really quite fun. And then I realized I wasn't really reading the object as much as I was embracing the person. So then they took the object away. And I think you could be very gifted yourself. So starting with psychometry teaches us that we don't have to be tuned in all the time. Haven't you walked near somebody and you wondered, why did I think that of that person?
I've had dreams of something is happening. I actually dreamed that my sister's house was on fire, and I called her in the middle of the night, and they had just had a chimney fire.
That night or in the process?
Right when I called, they had just put it out.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual. I don't know what they call that. Spontaneous prophetic dreams. You know, you felt the stress of your sister.
Maybe.
And sometimes people say, gosh, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night when my auntie died. Or Grandma and Grandpa or Grandma when she died. All of a sudden I felt her energy all around us. That's instantaneous, because when people are passing on the stress of life, they'll think of their family member. She might have thought of you, clicked into you, and you dreamt about it instantaneously. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes it's hard to discern what our imagination is. Of course, we all have good imaginations and real reality. So how you know when to act on something? People see a plane crash and it may represent in the real life too much work. So you don't know, you know, or be overwhelmed, you know, being overwhelmed. So it's learning how to discern what's you and what's not you and what's somebody else. I don't own what someone else gives me anymore. I don't have to, if this belongs to someone else who's in turmoil, I can hear it, relate and get it, but I don't have to own it. I don't have to accept what's going on, and I've learned to turn it off. It's really hard to do, but after you do it, then it's your choice if you want to be burned by other people. I think you have a good gift. Did I mention last time, remember, I don't remember, did I mention last time you have a really immense and very unusual energy field, kind of large? That's what I probably got and should have mentioned it to you, because that relayed the same information. Gee, have you thought about being a reader? Be interesting for you to do that. I don't know what rainbows have to do with you, the spectrum of color coming in. There's a lot of rainbow colors around you, but I'm not sure I know what that means yet. So, do you have a question for me tonight? What brought you to here? Do you just buds out for the night, or did you have something in particular?
Well, Tony let me know that you were going to be here.
Uh-huh.
And since I'm on this search of whatever my truth is,
Yeah.
you know, I thought, well, it might be interesting to come. And she said, have lots of questions. I'm like, I don't know what to ask.
Well, you just saw me, so it's kind of, I
Yeah.
don't remember what you asked.
Well, I didn't
last
ask
time.
anything then. I wasn't prepared then. I was just kind of
Do you know what a
there.
tarot deck is? A tarot deck is 75, 76 cards, depending on,
I have 2 tarot
right.
decks.
There's 350 some odd number of tarot decks, and each of them represents a personality aspect or a thought or a command. There's even cards there with dolphins on it. So if you recognize dolphins as being your kin, then you would relate to that. I have tarot cards at home I've never learned to read, but I think they're fascinating to look at. I think Voyager is one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen. Don't know how to read them, but I think they're lovely. The idea is it's a catalyst for a thought. And human beings are so amazingly diverse. It's like Richard's shirt has stripes and plaids and colors. That's how busy our lives are. And when I enter time and hallway of your future, there's so many aspects of that could represent every aspect of your personage. And it's almost impossible to know which one is the one you want to talk about. That's why I ask questions. I can start off by saying, whoa, look at the energy field around you. There's a minor health issue around you. I don't know if you're working on it or you're going to, but it's around you. I hear the word education, study, learning, frustration in mind about learning, where to go, what to do. I see a stationary tube from the ear going to the throat is blocked, or you have some kind of allergy going on. So one ear may be hurting or not hearing as well. So I can pick apart all these little things about you. But is that what you really want to know? So human beings have to discern what their power for the night is, you're paying me. Might as well get what you want. So that's why I say, if there's one area that you would particularly like to know more about, the search is the hardest one. People say to me, oh, Nancy, I want to be, you want to go where you are. I go, you're kidding.
No, that's not what
That's not the, I think that if God hit you on the head with a brick and you go this way, so be it. But I don't discourage anyone, even, I know you're sitting over there listening. I don't discourage anyone from being a reader. But being a reader to help each other out is where I think people could go, should go. I've had immense amount of training, and 12 years every day doesn't hurt. But I find it incredibly difficult, not difficult, it's the wrong word, amazing what people entrust in me by asking me. And I think unless you're emotionally ready, I don't think most people should be readers. Because I have to step out it, I have to be sure I know how to word things, and I am only a human being. I think it's amazingly difficult. And the girls that go into it 20, 30, 40 years old haven't had life. I kind of wonder, you almost need life to know how to answer questions. So go into it for the amazingly envelopment of what we call the spiritual awareness of the world. There are so many dimensions, inner dimensions that interplay on each other, and multiple dimensions that are caused and created every time we make a choice and decision. That's why people should go into the spiritual. We are so blocked by our physical that we don't ever see the true nature of the universe. What we're wearing, this flesh, is only a box for the true knowledge that you can have by getting into this. And by becoming a reader or getting into it and investigating, Richard's been in it for years and years. How many years? 20, 30, 40 years you've been into metaphysics?
Oh, maybe 30 years.
30 years. And once it gets you, you don't want to ever leave it, because it tantalizes us with the idea that there's more to the universe than what's being shown to us. And there's more to the universe than the thoughts of money, power, possessions. What we really want to know is, do we survive this mess? And by getting into this, we get real answers, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm into here, not for the power or the money. For heaven's sakes, I should charge more if I'm into money, or move to a higher paying area. But I want to know how many dimensions there are. I want to know how many multiple dimensions. I wonder how many universes are coexisting with us at this moment. That's what's exciting. Let alone I see spirit people walking all over the place. You know. Are you a natural redhead, or do we have a little help there?
I'm naturally brown with a little red in it.
Oh, you do have redhead in your family.
Yes.
Do we have someone come in? I just heard someone come in. Probably not of this realm. In my house against the wall, I love calendars. You know, there's as many calendars as there are interests in the whole world. In fact, I like the kitty calendars the best. But anyway, getting back. I'm really hot on cats and dogs, but of course I'm too allergic to have one. I have a calendar, now the artist is 2 or 3 centuries back, where the young boy is reflecting, sitting back on a rock, and in front of him are all bubbles, about this size. And for years and years I'd see this. I was a youngster. I seemed to be distracted by things I couldn't quite understand or see. It's like I would sense someone there or do this. And moms used to say, well, you used to talk when you were a youngster, you're so good, you used to talk to anybody. You know, you'd have a spirit child with you. And I was absolutely true. I remember playing by myself for hours, talking to somebody. It's like I had friends all the time, right? So as a child, I was more open to this than as a teenager or young woman. But I was always, and I thought it was my eyes, right? There was always balls that would discolor the world for me. And it's like I'd catch one, and there'd be a ball like 3 or 4 feet wide, big. Have you either one read my book yet? In the book, I drew a picture of what it looked like. It looks like a big cocoon with ribs on it. That's what we call the analytical look at it. Because when we first human beings pass over, that which we vibrate at this level, our spirit, as at least our body stays at that vibration. And that's what I've been seeing, is people still wanting to be part of what we call the flesh world. And their vibration is slow enough that I could see the ribbing around their bodies. Because as we progress as a spiritual being then, it's almost like it becomes more buoyant, see-through, mirror-like, glass-like. Because when we first pass, we're kind of sluggish. I want to be flesh again. I want to go back. I want to be felt and seen. And then as they go, well, that was a quick trip. I'm glad that's over. Oh, there's Aunt Mabel. I want to go visit. Oh, I want to go visit Jupiter. I want to go visit the cosmos. Can you imagine if we could step out of this world? We don't have gravity to hold us down. And it's so funny. I'm walking around doing things, and the spirit person will come in, and they're walking on the ground. I'm thinking, I wouldn't even know how to be upright if I didn't have gravity to hold me. It's like we project feet down, but the gravity only holds us. It doesn't hold them. Can you imagine going to the Hubble telescope? I love the Discovery Channel 6. And they were talking about the Hubble, how they put the new lens in there. And the coloring and the dynamics of the universe is so big we have no comprehension. So wouldn't it be fun to visit all the planets where this life forms and flesh forms? Wouldn't it be fun? Why do we have to be here? So that's what Spirit shows me, is that new discovery of going, creating, becoming. A woman comes to me, her child has been dead for years, and Jason says, I don't want to visit Mom, I want to be out here. Well, pardon me. That's why we stay in here. And to be here makes everything else in your working world, your home life, your relation with relatives. If you're having problems with people around you, you go, that's not important anymore. And it makes us look and minimizes everything around us. Now remember, I have family coming in, and I'm a nervous wreck tonight because I'm a woman, like my house clean, like everything perfect. But in the greater scope of things, it's really not important. And when I have to step back and relax and go, do you think they really care? People don't. It's not important anymore. All that happens after 9/11 especially is that we love each other. And Brenda, you're on the verge of figuring that out. You want to step out of your flesh now. It's like you want to get rid of things now. And I think this is kind of an interesting thing, that you're in a crossroads of releasing and discovering at the same time. Are you married? Mm-hmm. And you say you don't work. Are you because you chose not to? You don't have to? Or you just
on disability.
Disability? What kind of work did you do before you went to disability?
I work with computers.
Computers?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So how long have you been on disability?
10 years.
Damn, that's a long time to be on disability. You permanently boo-booed up?
Well, kinda.
What's that?
You tell me.
I don't know that. I think sometimes it's our choice to be permanently or not. I think there's jobs for everybody. It's what you want to do. I don't think there should be limits on, I think there's people who have disabilities, but there's always people who have disabilities I see working. Have you ever gone to McDonald's and someone serves you and they only got one arm? I mean, it's amazing. Or there's someone over here that works in the library and they don't speak English. It's just amazing to me. We all have disabilities. So it's what level of disability. So maybe God said, okay, we're going to give her disability. See how long it takes for her to figure out what's going on in the world. So marker, 10-year marker, you're going, woo, let's go in here and look around. What prompted you to come? Not tonight, but to open up the door to this.
Oh, well, because what I would consider the faith I was raised, I don't agree with it. And,
I was married to a Catholic for 21 years.
yeah, and like right now I'm reading a book called When Our Beliefs Fail Us.
I was a Catholic, and my husband and I go to church, and it wasn't often, but it was enough. You know, like his father would say, have you been to church lately? Oh, yes. I'd sit there and looking at the priest. My husband was Catholic, I was, you know how they convert you in, before you marry, you have to sign over your life and everything. Excuse me, did I say it like that? I will baptize my children in the Catholic Church, of course. And I don't mean to be facetious. Are you Catholic?
No.
Okay. You're not Catholic, are you? I hurt anybody's feelings. Spirit people used to walk in, and they must have been Catholic, right? And they stand there and point to us and was laughing. And I go, how come no one else sees these spirit people? How come it's just me seeing this guy, you know? And I'd look at them, and they'd look at me, and they go, she sees us. I go, well, of course. And it baffled them. Like, it was almost like they looked at me and said, why are you here? It didn't make sense to me, you know. And I really remember, and I have nothing against the church. I think people belong to churches in some ways in organized events, an organized acceptable ability, place where they feel part of, structure for the family, structure for their life. My little house I live in now has more church events than probably most churches in town. There's more awakenings, more beauty, more praying in my little front room than probably most places. Awareness, people come who've lost people, death in the families, dying people, and the awakening of spirit is amazing to me. So the churches are failing those who become consciously aware, right? And if you are not consciously aware and you need that format, that grouping, that environment, that camaraderie, then that's why you belong there. So you might have outgrown the church for a reason. You became consciously aware.
I was raised Southern Baptist,
Similar, very structured.
very structured.
One of my very best friends I went to high school with, we were 13 when we met. She was Jehovah's Witness. And right after I got into this, she always lived somewhere else. So she came to California and my neighborhood, and we said, what do you want to do? Oh, go gambling. You know, let's go gambling. And we got in the car, and I had to break it into her. I says, I'm doing something different with my life. I hadn't quit the telephone company yet. And I told her, and she was just aghast. Oh, you can't. And I says, let me just show you. Why don't you ask me a question? By the time we got back that night, I had converted her. I had told her about everybody she knew, and she just was addicted to this. She says, this is beyond my wildest dreams. She says, what I thought was real was not. What I thought what you are was not real, and it is. It completely reversed everything she'd ever learned. And I'm not saying the spiritualist environment and world is the catch-all. It isn't. But every belief structure says there's the ultimate belief structure. Like the Catholics believe, or the Jehovah's Witnesses think that only 140,000 people are going to go to heaven. Well, what if you're never raised in a place that even has that religion? Protestant. My father was a Christian Scientist. They didn't only believe that they would go to heaven, right? But every church group believes only their group is going to go. Islamic people, they're only going to go to heaven. The rest of us are heathens, you know. So in some ways, I think that God created opportunities for all of us to have little groupings, little groups that mesh with our cultures. In reality, I think everybody everywhere has psychic abilities, and those people who are in tune to that looks at their group and says, I don't think I belong there anymore, because I'm getting more than what they're telling me, and this is more interesting. I think there's, excuse the word, psychic people everywhere, over the planet. I read people all over the United States. In fact, I have little clusters of people. I said to one group in Texas, I said, am I the only psychic that you people know? You're calling long distance to me? It makes sense. And they said, you do it your way. We like it that way. We can't find that here. I go, jeez, criminy. I can't be the only one that does it this way. I was flattered. So I have little croppings all over the United States. If I convert all these people, it's great. Are you having fun with me? Am I answering your questions? It feels like you have a question in your mind, but I'm not sure what it is. Does it have to do with health or healing? Ask me a question. What is it? I sit here and I see a question pop up at her head.
Well, my disability isn't physical. And I'm wondering when that's gonna all come together, or if it ever will.
Are you married?
Yes,
Oh, I remember you. What's your husband's name?
Ron.
He sat here. You know, it's funny, I don't remember him. Was he the one I told about promotion?
Yes.
Oh, I remember you. Hello, hello. Click, click. Oh, I remember you guys coming. Remember I told you how to do that?
Yeah.
Remember how I told you how to look at that?
Uh-huh.
I don't believe flow with this
Okay.
because I had cancer, and that's a real big boo-boo, right? I call it the red brick of God. And it created my evaluating my life and my personage. I don't think there are mistakes. I think that you came to this place in your life, you grew to this place. And they called the red brick, it was the awakening of what was going on in your life. So the search to fix and cure you was then approached. Remember, I'm only a human being, thank goodness, right? I don't walk in water, only this person did. I ain't gonna go there, right? So I said, the spirit people, your spirit people walk around and said, in fact, I want to talk about that one person behind you, said, you know, we're going to kind of maneuver this person around you to go and talk. That's why I want to ask about the red hair. We're going to have you talk to Nancy because we're going to give her an idea. This woman, Brenda, right? Brenda, is on a learning to discover, and she wants to fix. She wants to get on with her life. She's getting impatient. She's right now at a place of a great deal of healing. Got it? And so you can have 10 people give you advice, but only one will ring true, and only one will make you want to do something about it. Got it? So you could go to 5 people like myself, and all our information may be the same or vary, but only one will ring true to, whether it's me or somebody else. And that is your cure. All right? So you take what I told you. Without putting it on tape, I remember, isn't that funny? So now that I know who you are, I can start remembering. God, I talked to 25 people that day. That's amazing. The other fair was 2 weeks earlier. I talked to 25 in 8 hours. I talked to 25 in 7 hours. All-time high number. It's amazing.
I was the second person you read.
It was amazing. So I had 23 people after you, and you try to think I'm going to remember? Like, so what happens is your dissatisfaction with who you are and where you are in life right this moment is a catalyst for you to try to evaluate what's going to happen. And so you will fix this. It will your evaluation of who you are, what you are, and what you want to do now with the rest of your life. The feeling of impatience in you is going to help you feel through this and eliminate and fix what's going on. I really believe that. I don't believe that, excuse me, that wasn't Deepak Chakra. It was somebody else. Someone came to me and said, I was listening to this figure, and that figure said that memory is not part of our brain. Because when people put us under those machines that make us remember, there are colors. But where do we pack in all those memories when we only use 10% of it? And they think that memory is outside of our body. All right? So if memory is outside of our body, I wonder what else is. So you may have this affliction outside of your body. Maybe pieces of the past. Say 10 years ago, a creative another personality happened. But you may go 10 years into the past and access that personality. It's not necessarily part of you right here in this room. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand that theory?
Yeah, I think so. Another reader once told me that I have what they call stand-ins. And I don't know what exactly which thing that
Oh,
is.
that's another way of getting around they don't know what they're talking about. Excuse me, I don't. About, gosh, I've lost track of time. There's a lady in Rockland, very pleasant lady. She's blonde, she's a professor. And she started a group, and they were called walk-ins. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but the theory was if you couldn't figure out what you're about and you have a totally new personality, it had to be that the old one stepped out, went for coffee, and didn't come back. Another one walked in. I don't know how that works. Okay, I'm only a human being. But if there is accumulation of spirit people within you, one steps out, the other comes in, you got a whole heck of a lot of a crowd. Don't know how that works. Usually they imply it had to do with a traumatic event. One could come in and one could leave. You're not having trauma events 20 times a day. Point made. Got it? Now the other thing is stand-ins. In the book, I don't know if it's this one. I have to read my book and remember which chapters I included. You know, when you write a book, you make it this big. Then you whittle it down to what cells this big. I had this wonderful opportunity to read someone who was in the entertainment industry. And she brought a friend over who lost her lover. And they're Hispanic, and they were very dark. He was, that died. And I sat there, and all of a sudden I couldn't move. And the women started screaming. I thought, geez, what do I do? Her name is Cindy, and her friend I don't remember. And Cindy had this funny look on her face. She was watching me, but not me. What happened, the man stepped into me. It's called transfiguration. And he was a lot bigger than I am. He was very dark, and he died with the stubble. And his eyes were here. The top of his head was here, and it felt like a wetsuit. It felt like my life force, and then you piled another one on. I hardly could move. That was a true transfiguration. So if you had more than one person sitting on this body, one more than one spirit, you wouldn't be able to move. Got it? So you have to have one come in and one go out because the same life force is there. So how does more than one body had all those different people? You understand? So my theory is every time we create a personality, it's not necessarily part of your brain as much as part of time. You reflect back to a person a week, month, a year back, and that person then stops and comes forward. I think that's a logical way to explain it versus all those spirits hanging around taking turns. If we want to say that each of the personalities is a distinct life form, a distinct spirit from God, that's really tough. Haven't you seen that TV show on the girls who have one body and two heads, and they have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they're Siamese twins that only created new bodies down to the first shoulder? Now I think those girls have 2 separate spirits. Have you seen that, Brenda?
I'm not sure if I have.
Siamese twins. They're on Life magazine.
I think I saw them on a talk show.
Right,
one time.
right. They're about 12 to 14 years old now. They could not separate them because they only split bodies down to like the rib cage, halfway down the rib cage, so they stick out and they only have one torso going down. Have you seen that on TV? On the TLC station, Learning Exchange. Have you seen that? It's wonderful. And I loved it because it implied there's 2 spirits and 1 flesh body. Because 2 personalities and 2 brains.
I often wondered about that.
Mm-hmm. Because Siamese twins, if they're joined at the belly button, how about yin and yang? There's 2 separate bodies.